Okay, right. Well, thank you very much for coming to the seminar here. This is my fourth one, third one with in-person here because of last year's virtual one. Just want to say we're going to be going over some different ice fishing accessories today. There's quite a large range in ice fishing equipment these days. But sometimes the accessories get overlooked, or even just kind of little add-ons that can make things a little bit easier for us, a little more efficient on the ice, more comfortable, or even a little more safer. So I just thought, since there's not a lot of we're talking out there about the accessories themselves, talk about fishing spots, techniques, lures to use, all that stuff. I've just raised it in the past, but this year we try something a little different. So we're just talking about comfort on the ice and just ways to make things a little bit easier for you. So we'll get started. There's so much more to ice fishing than just sitting on a bucket, as our grandpas maybe used to do back in the day. You can be successful with just what is the basics with all the new stuff we have these days. There's fish trap sleds, there's hubs that keep us warm and keep us out of the elements no matter how cold it can get. We've got our ice fishing suits and boots. The float suits keep us safe if we were to ever fall through the water. And they'll keep us from drowning. And allow us to have a buddy help us get us out, or help us, or we're using ice picks to get ourselves out of the water. There's the portable heaters. So I've got one up here. There's different models out there. That's the one I use currently. I've been out in well below 30 degrees with a good wind blowing. But I'm in a t-shirt pretty quick running those things in these shelters these days. Flashers and some sonars that can tell you exactly where or even how far to go to find fish. As you notice, I use all Vexilars myself, but the big dream would be a live scope. Anybody here have a live scope by any chance? Oh, nice. I got to use one of those last year. Yeah, that's some super technology there. It's only about $3,000. Depends on if you can get it or not. But that's some pretty awesome technology that will tell you exactly where to drill a hole. Ice rods or reels are made from new materials these days. A lot of these are technique specific. You've got your ones that have composites, graphite, your carbon reels and rods. There's just a lot of different things you can get these days in the field of ice rods and reels compared to even 5 years ago. So many different things these days that you can use. And yet, like I said, there was always little items you can kind of get to make things easier, more efficient, safer, or more comfortable. So that's what we're discussing here. But before we continue, since we are getting onto that first ice chance, and I've already been on 3 times myself on some suspect thickness ice, but there are some places that are getting close to about 4 inches out there. So it's also a good time just to mention about ice safety, as long as someone's looking to get on. Always remember, a spud bar is probably one of your best things you can bring with you on the ice. Either one you can buy in store, or ones you can make yourself. I've got friends who have bought them, I've had friends who have made them. As long as you have the ability to actually get this and drive it in the ice in front of you before you get on, to see how thick that ice will be, or if it's thick enough to get on even, that can keep you from getting into that situation if you're going on this first ice. And there's some different videos out there to tell you about how hard you hit the ice in front of you to really determine the depth. I'll wrap this around me, I will give it a good hit in front of me. If it doesn't go through on that first shot, I know I've got about 2 inches at least. If it doesn't go through on the next one, you got at least 4. So that's kind of my general rule. I'm using a spud bar, so if I can't go through in 2 shots, we're good to get on. If it does go through within 2, if you're like me and you get on like 2 inches of ice, it's kind of up to you. So I would advise not being dumb like me getting on that thinner ice, but if you're a hardcore ice head, sometimes it's hard to resist that first kind of sort of close to walkable ice. Probably your cheapest form of life insurance you can ever get being on the ice, just a pair of picks to wear on your neck. If you were to get in a bad situation, fall through, these can help save your life. If you don't have a suit, if you don't have any of these, especially if you don't have a float suit. So wear these around your neck. Pull apart. Got 2 spikes on the end. Most people probably already seen these. Just go grab the ice and pour yourself out. So for less than $10 that most of these cost, the form of life insurance you can have for yourself out on the ice. This time of year, you would not want to venture out Probably until the ice is at least 8 inches without, at least in my opinion. Until it gets about 8 inches thick or more, you always have these around my neck. Going out with a buddy. You never want to go out by yourself, especially on the first ice here. It's always good to have a safety rope when you've got your buddy with you too. This particular one works where you just unclip it, you grab one loop, you throw the bag out to your buddy, and it'll slide out. You can grab the other loop on the other end, and you just pull them out. So for about 10, 15 bucks for a safety rope, or if you have something at your house that you can use, that's at least, I'd say 15 to 20 foot long. Any rope is better than none. So if you're looking at going out in the next couple weeks or so, I would highly recommend making sure you've got your safety gear first, just to make sure you don't get into that situation. And of course, do not go out by yourself. So our first thing, we're going to talk about our fish trap accessories. If any of you had a chance to sit in there, you'll see I've got some things in there. There's a variety of different additions you can put into those things these days. You've got rod holders, which I've got the ones mounted on the sled in there. You've got consoles and seat storage. You see those in the stores, just sits right alongside you. You can keep some of your gear there, some tackle, your bait on those. Glove and coat hangers that you can hang on the back behind you in there, just for the times when you get really warm there, because those thermal ones do get really warm pretty fast, especially if the sun is up. Cold snap rod clamps. I do have a couple that are sitting there right now. It's just a nice way to be able to put a dead stick rod out on your pole there. You can drill a hole in front of you, you can jig in that one, you can lift further, another hole, and there's a dead stick rod right in front of you. It's a nice little accessory to have, or if you just get tired, you just want to put the rod up, good place to put it without tripping over it, trying to get out of it. Light bars, nice things to have when it's in the early morning or evening when it gets dark outside. You can see I've got one and that one over there. I don't have one in the hub yet, but plan on getting one soon. Just nice to keep the area lit up when it's dark outside. Movable floors. The two-person ones of those ones, the Clam has a floor you can actually put in that has a long 2 holes in front of it, so it's just Velcro. You just pull it up, you drill your hole for 2 holes, they're long enough for 2 holes, and you go to have, you're getting your feet off the ice, you're also giving yourself added insulation on the bottom there too, so it'll be even warmer inside these things when you've got those floors in there. They only do come on the 2-person models though, not in the single persons yet. That'll be a future thing to come out with. And this year, it came with armrests. So you can really fall asleep good if it gets really warm or cold inside the shelter. I sat on one of these things at the Institute in Sioux Falls. It is pretty comfortable. I can see falling asleep pretty easy on. But it's just one of those, add accessories just to make things a little more comfortable for us out here. Hub accessories. Hubs are often just thought of having a lot of unusable space. You guys in there on your buckets, you sit and you just fish. Over the last few years though, that has changed with different accessories coming out for them. You've got your lights. It's the hub light that fits in right in the middle on the hubs. You've got your coat hangers that you can hang on them as well. You've got movable floors. I've actually got one at home on the model above this one that I'm still waiting to get. That's why the floor is not here. But that's just another way to put those ones. Get your feet off the ice, keeps you more insulated, keeps the area you're inside more insulated, keeps you dry, especially if you've got kids. And these ones have Velcro at all the different corners, so you can fish 4 holes or 5 holes for people when you come to this one up here. It's just another way just to keep yourself comfortable and keep yourself dry out on the ice. Brand new for this year is the Clam lock system. So you got some different parts up here, and I've got some hanging in the hub here if you have a chance to go inside. Make sure you take a look at those. The system itself uses a lock plate. It's just this lock plate that fits right into the hub assemblies there. It works in clams, it works in otters, it works in Eskimos. You just take out the nut that connects the poles together. Put this in its place. Really simple idea, but it allows for some different added-on accessories. Single and multiple rod holders for storage. See, I got this one here with the hub right in the back here. There's a 4 rod holder. This one can go into either the hub, or I plan on putting this on my four-wheeler, because you can take that little hub and attach it to a basket, four-wheeler, or even onto a seat if you're one of the hubs. It's a really versatile system, these pucks. Allows you to put them in a lot of different places. The Rattle wheel mount. I got the Rattle wheel mount in there right now. I'm looking forward to using that. It'd be a nice way to use a dead stick in there and just be able to hear it. It could be out of my hub, but I'll hear that thing going off inside there. Cooler and gear storage. A couple of bags, one little small bag you can store lures, some different accessories in, and cooler where you just throw your drinks, throw your food, and hang right off the assembly in there, or where you happen to have the puck at. It's in a small table. Little table in there, it's about that big. It's got a beverage holder, it's got a little magnet bar to put your little jigs and stuff on to hold them, as well as in a storage place, just to put like your little bait puck full of maggots or wax marks. And as camping on the ice has become more and more popular the last few years, I'm sure we've all seen guys spending a night or two out on the ice. It's nice as it gives you the ability to keep your stuff organized, keep your stuff off the ice. Because when you're limited to the room you have in there, keeping this space efficiency is a big way just to keep yourself safe from tripping over everything, having stuff all over the ground. So this system is a good way if you're thinking about it to keep yourself organized and more comfortable while you're out there. This is just some of the pictures here. I said that's the plate, there's the table, that's the cooler, gear bag, and then the various different rod holders that are in it. I've got a single rod holder right here. There's a dual one in there used for dead sticking, because it's the blue one and the blue here. It's a good one to use, just keep a couple of rods out for dead sticks. And then of course the Rattle wheel. It's a really versatile system, good way just to keep yourself organized in your hubs, your shelters, even the four-wheeler. You can throw these hubs all over. These little hub things can go all over the place on the basket, or even on your seat or whatnot. Ice suit accessories. So little things we can keep in our pockets, keep things organized. It's all about efficiency, especially if you're going to be running a lot. Or running these suits, staying in the shelter. So you've got things like thin lure cases. These are the size of a cell phone, and they're just thin. These fit very easily in most pockets. So ways you don't have to carry big old tackle boxes around with you. But now you can carry a lot of your lure, a lot of your stuff just right in your pockets. And anyone who has an ice suit or even a spare couple hours of bibs, these will still fit. And you can even fit them, even the slightly bigger ones. This still fits in my suit pocket pretty easily. This has got a lot of my spoons in it. Both those ones. So that's just a way I can move around. I happen to have access to all my lures. I can go back to my tackle box and get something to change with. Toothpicks. We all know about the toothpick by now, I think. It's just one of those nice little tools, very cheap, $2.5 to $3 just for the toothpick. It's just a good way to be able to get that hook out of the fish's mouth in a hurry, without hurting the fish or damaging the lure. Because the tungsten jigs these days and all the custom paint jobs that are coming out now on different jigs and spoons and whatnot, it's just nice to have that ability to, if you have to get the hook out, it's a good way to get it out quickly from the fish and keep the fish alive, but also keep your lure from getting damaged or scratched up. Hand warmers. Less time spent warming up your hands means more fishing time. So you can carry these these muff things, or you keep those little hand warmers in your pockets. If you can keep yourself fishing less, the more time you spend fishing, the better chance you have to catch more fish. So if you're spending more time keeping yourself warm, it's not as fun, and it's definitely not as efficient to catch fish. Rod and lure storage. So it's not really a system that seems too important for the most part, but if you've had to untangle a mess of rods that are tangled up in your bucket, or you've got treble hooks that are tangled up all over the tackle box, you know it's not the case. Rod storage cases, whether it's soft or hard, I've got two cases right here, one soft, one hard. Keeps everything separated, keeps everything protected, especially if you start getting into more expensive, higher quality rods. You step it down, nothing's getting loose. everything stays in place. Even on the soft one here, same thing. Just put the developer down, nothing's gonna move when you're shaking this thing around. This is when I carry my forwarder a lot, and I've been bouncing around a lot this thing. I've never had a rod move out of place like that with this one. So it's just a good way to look at it. You don't have to get the expensive ones. You can go with some of the lesser ones. I think this is the Utah one. This you get from a store in town here. It's about $45, $50. You don't have to get the big, $100 plus ones. They're a little bit heavier. And this does the exact same thing for like half the price. So I always say that's what that thing does is an excellent case to get, especially if you're carrying more than 2 or 3 rods with you. Tackle storage, again, like the little tackle boxes here. You have the Clam ones, I also use these groove ones, which have a silicone inside them.
Thank you.
Shake these things. They hit pretty hard to keep knocking them out. So unless you're really going to be banging on stuff, these things will keep the lures from falling out. So if you have any spoons are always fun because the treble looks like they're covering everything. But if you have this system here from Clam, it's got pre-slotted spots for all your lures, so your lures won't get tangled up. Just push them into that styrofoam, they're ready to go. And these can take a pretty good beating. I wouldn't say turn upside down and shake it a lot. It probably lose them, but you really keep them organized and keep them being tangled up. And it'll save a lot of aggravation. Because the more organized you are, the more efficient you are, the more efficient you're going to be. There's a lot of, when it comes to accessories, that's just what it's all about. More efficient, safer, more comfortable, less aggravation. Flasher add-ons. This is kind of a fun one. So most of your flasher companies, whether it's Vexilar, Garmin, what have you, they'll have different kinds of shuttle systems and accessories for their shuttles. Some of the different Vexilar ones, you've got the Transducer Arm Holders. These ones here, these are just a nice little accessory to keep your transducer out the hole a little bit further. Shields and covers. I've got some of those neoprene covers for these different models here, and then I got one of those little ones for that 18 down there. Nice ways to keep your units protected. The DD100. If you're familiar with that, it gives you the digital readout on your Vexilar. If it's an older unit, if it's a Vex 18 or 8 or the old 20s and whatnot, you can attach it. It gives you a digital depth instead of having to try to figure out, by multiplying what you got on those older screens. A nice little accessory to add on of your Vexilars. The glow ring, one of my favorite ones. It doubles as a rod holder, but it also means you just put your glow gel inside there for 10 to 20 seconds. And you're good to go for like the next 5 to 10 minutes. It's just a nice little accessory, just especially for those low light conditions or when the water is really murky and you need that glow in there. It's just an excellent little accessory to have on the Vexilars. There's also pop can holders for your Vexilar. I don't know anybody who has this, but it is an accessory nonetheless. Especially if you got a cold one, you're carrying around with you. And then kind of a new one today is with the 3D printers these days, you can actually create and make your own accessories for the different units, whether it's Vexilar or Markham, what have you. I've actually done that recently. Most of my units here, if you look on the side, I've got these add-ons here. And all it is, it's just like I found this on a website that we use in the library where I work. It's meant to fit right in that spot, in these boxes. You insert this, put a couple screws in, slide that in, there's a Rattle. You can print them and put them on the back like these ones here. So I can carry, I can really do 4 rods now. I have 1 in my hand and 3 in the holders here now. I've got them on the sides over here too. It's just quick, just pop it up, store it in the back, you've got it, and it's ready to go. So it's really fun what the 3D printers can do these days. If you were to try and use them at coming out of from the library where we've got 3D printers, you can actually find or design this stuff on your own. In fact, afterwards, I've got a bunch of those here. If you guys want to try them out, I'll give them away to whoever wants them after the seminar here. And yes, you can do whole systems. I'm sure most of you saw this nice one here. This is my new toy for the year here. This is all 3D printed from a guy out of Minnesota. His business is called Basking. Everything on there is 3D printed, so it's really, really light. So I'm looking forward to using that this year. Weight-saving lithium batteries. So with advancements in batteries these days, if any worker is feeling the difference between your standard battery and your lithium battery, you can tell just from how the difference. And they're so lightweight, but they also last. They also last so much longer. They have half the weight, more hours, more than double the life cycle of a standard SLA battery. So, like your standard SLA battery averages about maybe 500 charge cycles. Those 6-amp batteries that I've got running pretty much all my units, except for the Vex30 here, 2,000. So it's going to last you at least, if you go out once a week like I do, it'll last 10 years versus half that with the SLAs plus the added weight. It's like your standard SLA battery on the Vex that I come with runs about 18 hours, runs about 25 hours. It weighs between 4.5 to 5 pounds, depending on what scale you're on. The amped one, the 6-amp, they run 32 hours. On that 30, longer around like the 18 and 12, 1.6 pounds. So 4 pounds difference easily just between those two batteries. And if you pick up either of those units, you can feel just how much lighter the lithium makes the unit here. Like this one here, if you feel this one here as a standard battery in it, this one's got the lithium in it. So if you have any chance to kind of see the difference, I encourage you to come up here afterwards and just feel. Lift the lithium up, you tend to see the difference. For guys who like to run around a lot on the ice, it really is it was a big benefit switching to lithium batteries. Eyewear. Something we don't always think about when we're out there, either outdoors, period. There's kind of on our face, but bright sunlit days on the ice, you can cause a lot of eye strain. You spend this all the time on the ice, whether your sunglasses or not. I used to wear just a pair of clip-ons, but you still get that, you look over here, but you still get the glare on the side of your face. So a good pair of sunglasses can really keep that eye strain down, keep you comfortable, keep the headaches away, make you more comfortable out on the ice. The face hugging styles are really popular these days because they do prevent that side glare from coming in your face. So like last year, I got into this company called Relevant out of Minnesota. Their sunglasses are they're definitely the best sunglasses I've ever used for the outdoors, period. They've got this really cool technology they call Clam, and it's basically a transition lens is what it is. But I can put these glasses on. These are prescriptions, so try and put them on. It's really a little wonky. But the lenses automatically lighten depending on cloud conditions. They darken when the sun comes out. So you don't have to worry about having the same standard shading of the lenses. The tech of these things automatically adjust to the lighting conditions. I know guys who wear these out at night because they lighten up enough to the point you can still see, but they take away all that glare from oncoming vehicles. So like I said, this company Relevant, awesome new lens technology. Really happy with those last year and this past summer when I was using them as well. Yes. Yep. These are prescription. These have to send their numbers. Send your just give your account on the website, and then you'd be able to order whatever colors you want. And you can pick whatever kind of colors you want too. I forgot to talk about the filtering these things. They've got like blue, green, red, and pink. And each color that you have filters a particular color out from the environments around you. Like these red ones filter out a lot of green. So when I was using this summer, the green is dulled down, but the fish stand out like crazy good. They stand out. You can see them when you're up a little higher above them. You can see the fish being so much easier. And they are polarized, of course, like most outdoor glasses are these days. The blue eliminates, like the reds or browns in the area, and then the website has all the different information about the filters on these. But just a bit, you can customize the glasses to wherever you prefer to kind of eliminate out of the environment. So it's really cool new technology that they've done with Relevant. Portable power, especially for power and emergency. So whether you're in an area with little or no cell reception, we all know it drains your batteries like crazy, especially if you don't put it in airplane mode. Or if you're trying to keep those devices powered up for the kiddos on the day when the bike's really hard, or if the weather outside is not good, you're stuck in a hub. it's nice to be able to keep those devices powered up. And it's especially the last 4 or 5 years, it's been really desirable to have a portable power system, not just for this, but also for emergency situations where you have to keep your phone charged for a long time, especially if you're in an area with little cell reception. They allow for customization of different ports. This particular one here is the one that I've got. I've got 2 USBs, a regular cigarette lighter here. That's what's powering my. I've got this powering my computer right now. This little jig cup here. That barrel makes for these. You can no place to keep your jigs charged. You don't have like the glow cup on the Vexes. You can even use speakers. This is the party box model right here. It's with a Bluetooth in your phone. You can connect your phone to it and play music through it. Keep yourself entertained there. So there's a lot of fun reasons you can use these things. But in a serious moment, in an emergency, if you're going to be out for half a day or longer, if you're stuck, especially with winter coming up here, you might need to keep that battery in by your phone charged for a bit. But if you're around here, like if you're up around Deerfield area, I have no cell reception up there. So it'd be nice to keep that phone charged, be able to kind of walk away, find some reception, come back, and keep it charged. And depending on what you use, like people who use a standard SLA battery or lithium, like what I've got an amp battery in mine, and there's Barrett runs with the ionics here out of his. This is super light, but also keeps those devices charged for days or weeks. So because they don't require a lot of power to keep them charged. So these can last a long, long time until you find somebody to get a hold of you or get someplace to safety. Cooking on the ice, a little more fun one over here. So, nothing's better than a hot meal after you've been on the ice all day. And eating on the ice is even better. So you've got different kinds of portable grills out there that I've seen a lot of guys bring out. There's heaters that can be rigged up on top of your standard buddy heater. A lot of guys just have a little plate they can put on the wire there, cook a can of soup or make some hot dogs or something like that. You've got vacuum sealed meals. I've used the old meals brand before. You scoop up some water out of your ice hole, seal the bag up. 5-10 minutes later, food. And actually pretty good food too. They have a chili and a couple of others that are really good. It just takes about 10 minutes because you're putting freezing cold water in the bag for the heat and to actually get the food. The newest addition to the market came out last year was the Mr. Buddy Flex. Here with the cooker with a side cooker attachment. So this thing, the heater puts out a lot more heat than your standard buddy heater. It's also variable temperature grills. This one's actually safe to use indoors without ventilation. Because it heats up differently than the old ones that use a lot of propane. So you can actually keep yourself warm in your house with this and not worry about the propane exhaust. And the attachment just hooks right into the side here. You saw this piece here. So you could run right off of this. You can't do both at the same time. It only goes one or the other. But the nice thing about the system is once you detach it, all you gotta do is put this on top. There's a slotted spot right in the bottom there. Put it on top, click these over, and the whole unit comes up. So you get a really nice, ultra portable way to both heat and cook food on the ice. I used this a few times last year when I was cooking for kids. And it's really kids with things that can kick out when you're cooking, you're using fire on the ice basically. But you're cooking them a nice meal of brats or soup or what have you. But it's just a nice little system to be able to keep yourself a hot meal while you're out on the ice. Conclusions. So there's a treasure trove, as you can tell, just different accessories out there that can help make your hardware time on the Hardwater more efficient, more comfortable, more safe, just by helping yourself from danger, from kids being bored, even with the fish on biting that belt. There's different ways that accessories can help you with that. Shuttles can be tricked out in dozens of different ways using different systems like the Clam system or different other brands out there that also have various accessories that you can use in hubs and shelters. Other ways to keep it organized. That's probably my number one thing when it comes to organization is keeping my lures, my rods, plastics area, those are the biggest pain in the butt when those things get tangled up, fall out, or break on you. So that's a very good way to avoid aggravation by keeping yourself a little more organized with your equipment. Eyewear should be a little overlooked just because it's on your face. When you can see easier, it's more comfortable for you. You're not squinting so much. Just makes yourself more comfortable out there. Investments and accessories like lithium batteries, portable power boxes, just ways to lighten the load, keep you safe, keep your devices charged, and just especially if you're going to be moving around a lot, it's nice to have the lighter batteries to keep you out there longer, as well as keep you from getting yourself fatigued from carrying something that's a lot heavier. So I wanted to say a special thanks to all the donors and sponsors who gave to my seminar here. I'm calling out here individually. We got Clam, Cold Snap Outdoors, Relevant, Amped Outdoors, Wild Walleye Outfitters, RBM Jigs and Link Effect out of Michigan. They donated a very nice rod and lure package for me here. Shields, Vexilar, Fleet Farm, Rough and Tackle, Power Boxes. Barrett's here he's the guy who owns that company. If you have any questions about any of his boxes, please chat with him. Titan Lures for donating. Anthony's donated a bunch of really nice brand new ice boxes that he just built here recently. So we're going to be giving those away for both questions and a grand prize of a big box of them. And also to Bellis, also donated a couple of rods to this seminar. And should you have any more questions, need any more after the seminar here, you can get a hold of me at my email there, drauger81 Hotmail, on my Facebook page, and my personal one, or the Dr. Auger Ice Fishing one. I also have the website up there, which is on the business card that I have back to the table there. If you have any questions that you want to get a hold of me with, or even just explore the website and tell me what's good or not. Otherwise, that's the presentation. All right, now comes the fun part. That's part of any seminar for me is always the question. So, you ask a question. We have a mic back here that Clam will bring up. You ask a question, and my other wife here will be picking out something for you to get. Who's first? Oh, got the young man back there. Mic right there, buddy.
Are fish usually in the shallow or the deep?
Well, this time of year they're usually going to be more shallow because there's still green weeds in the shallows, and they'll be feeding a little more heavily in there. And then again, it can depend on the lake. If you're going like Pactola, for instance, once the ice is up, you're probably going to be, especially with all the lake trout, you're probably going to be looking at 40 feet or more in depth. But typically this time of year, once like say some of the bigger lakes freeze up, like Stockade or Deerfield, I'll probably be looking at about between 5 and 7 feet for the most part, looking for perch or trout in those areas.
Why do you like ice fishing more than normal fishing?
Ice fishing more than normal fishing? Well, the toys are a lot more fun in my opinion. Well, because I don't have a boat, so for me, I'm limited by where I can get to. There's some places on the lake you can't get to from the shore, or if you have like a kayak or whatnot, there's something where they're further away, so you would want to paddle a good mile or two to get to the spot. I'm not exactly in the best shape, so I don't really want to paddle that far. Whereas in ice fishing, the lakes are frozen, the whole lake is accessible. You can fish anywhere, provided the ice is, of course, the right depth and you can get on it. But you're not limited by any means to on any body of water when you can ice fish. So since I don't have a boat, I can go anywhere, either walk to it or with my four-wheeler once the ice is thick enough, where I can actually use all this stuff. And plus, with ice fishing, I think it kind of feels more like you're more one-on-one with the fish. If you're casting out with your open water rod, you kind of just hope there's fish around. If you don't have a live scope or anything like that, you're just casting out hoping there's fish around. Well, with ice fishing, I can tell when there's a fish below me, and I can see it on my Vex screen. And I think just that you get that adrenaline rush. Just watch the fish come on, fish bite, and then watch it go away and have it. You're like, oh, or the victory of you catching the fish with it. So that's probably a couple reasons there why I prefer ice fishing to open water. You got it.
best area to ice fish around here?
What's that?
What's the best area to ice fish around here?
Best area to ice fish around here? Well, it kind of depends on what you're going for. If you're going to go for panfish, I would say the Jenny Gulch area, Pactola is probably one of the best places to go for good-sized crappies and bluegills. Stockade's got a pretty good population of decent bluegills and crappie. If you're going for trout, Deerfield's got some pretty big ones. A lot of the small lakes around here have got anywhere from your little guys up to about your 20 inchers. Just kind of depends on which one you pick. If it's like Robay, Dalton, or like Deerfield, just kind of depends on what you're going after. Lady here. Oh, we're here. Sorry.
Can you straighten out the plastic windows on the ice fishing tank?
Plastic windows on what?
Ice. Yeah.
Straighten out the windows? Well, they are already pretty straight out. Some other companies have removable ones that you can, if you really wanted to flatten them out, you could. The ones in the Clam and the Auger, I know those are sealed in there. So they'll just flatten out themselves once you open up the shelter.
What's your favorite fish to catch?
Favorite fish to catch? Well, I catch a lot of flack for it, but I would have to say because of how they fight, rainbows. I love rainbows. I know they get a lot of the crappy mountain carp and can be easy to catch, but if you get on about you catch a 16 to 20 incher on 3-pound test, have fun. You're in for a fun fight. But I would say a close second would be bluegills and crappies. Because they can definitely be a bit of a challenge. That's right. Yes, lady.
Which tent would you prefer to use?
Which tent would I prefer to use? Well, it kind of depends on what I'm going to be doing that day. Like anything else, if I'm going to be kind of moving around a little bit more, I'm going to use the flip overs, the fish traps, because those you can just pop them over. You're good to go. You sit there in a spot for a while, fish for a little bit. If you don't catch any fish and you feel like moving someplace to try and find some fish, then all you got to do is flip it over, grab the rope and take off. So if we're running and gunning, if you're in a search mode for fish traps are definitely the way to go. If I'm planning on just hanging out in one area for the day, or if I've got a group of people with me, or I have kids with me, then we're definitely looking at more of the hub style. Because it gives you a place just to kind of bed down. You can get out of the elements. You can keep your fish in there. You can stay dry in there. They're pretty much all insulated these days, so you stay pretty warm in there, especially on a nice sunny day. So it just kind of depends on who I'm fishing with and what kind of fishing I'm doing.
So how long would you say it takes to charge the heater?
Well, the heater runs off of, you can run it off of either the big propane tanks. I usually run it off of the, I'll pull this off here. I can plug in one of those little 1-pound tanks into the back here. So there are some reusable tanks out there. I don't use them yet because I don't use this a whole lot, because usually I'm not bedding down a lot unless it's really, really cold outside, below zero. That's the only time I ever use the heaters, or if I have kids out with me, then I'll bring it with me just to make sure I can keep the kids warm. What size I recommend for a lake trout rod? Rod length is really more of a personal preference. A lot of guys, for bigger fish, like lake trout, bigger walleyes, pike, they'll use longer rods because you can get a little more control over the fish, especially when they got those big old head shakes. Most of my rods that I use for like walleye, lakers are about 34 inches long. Some guys like for longer ones, but for me, the 32 to 34 inch length, I can stand up pretty easily, and if I don't want to be on my knees all the time, and I can still do my usual jigging techniques with that. But it also allows me to, if I want to get closer to the hole, I'm not like this, just my hold the arm way back, but it's still kind of, I just still grip myself a lot. So I'll hold my rods like this, as opposed to your standard this. So having a slightly shorter one for me is more beneficial because of how I grip my fishing rods.
When you go camping on the ice, what do you bed down on? The thermal floor? Do you put a layer between you? Do you use a sleeping bag?
Well, I've actually never camped on the ice yet. I am planning on one of these days, right, huh? Just me, not you. You don't have to be out there. Yeah, I know, right? Well, when I end up doing this, I'll probably have just because I've got another bigger hub coming yet with the floor attachments, and I will probably have just a folded cot, more likely with my standard goose down seat mate that I have in the house right now. So that's what I would end up doing. I'll use the floor attachment because you're not going to want to run the heater 24/7. You're going to use up, unless you got one of those big tanks, you're going to use up a lot. You're going to burn up your heat pretty quick. So you want to kind of keep it to a minimum. So the more insulation you put in those things, the better. You don't have to run your propane all the time. They were just here for show. Okay, so he's asking about the plate. The plates can be purchased at pretty much any of the retail stores in town. You can go to the Rooster, Cabela's, Shields, and Fleet Farm. They're going to have the attachment for this. Yeah, I've tried using this without a plate before. It's not the most pleasant thing because it wants to jerk you around all the time and twist your wrists pretty hard. The plate takes all of that off of your wrists and puts it all the bearing of this clam plate takes all the pressure off the drill tube. So your drills aren't going to burn out as fast as they would without this plate. It adds, if you're going to go ultra light, yeah, the plate adds about 4 more pounds to your heater, but this whole only weighs 12 pounds as it is. It's pretty light. Yeah, way lighter than you're eating gas or propane.
What's your go-to for bait, live or soft plastics, or minnows, extra?
I'm a plastics guy. I use plastics I would say 98% of the time for panfish, trout. I'm pretty much exclusively a plastics guy. I use a variety of different kinds of plastics because there's so many different companies that are making them. Clam makes them, G&S, Northland. A lot of like Anthony here in town. He makes with Titan lures. He makes his own plastics. I use his too. They work really well because you don't have to keep rebaiting your hook. Now there are times when I always have a pucker on me that has maggots or wax seeds on it because there are just some days when those fish they just want the meat. They just want that taste. And the plastics are all flavored these days with different scents in them. But there's some days, especially end of January to February on Sheridan Lake, those perch do not want to bite anything but a red maggot. So I've tried for years to get them to bite on plastics. At the beginning of the season, a little bit easier. Boy, you get into the midwinter doldrums, and those perch they just flop down unless you have a whole bunch of just waxworms on them. They ain't gonna bite.
What's the biggest fish you caught?
Biggest fish I caught could be the 32-inch laker I caught at a Deerfield a few years ago, or the 15-pound pike I caught out of Stockade 2 years ago through the ice.
As somebody not really familiar with like the South Dakota area, what species do you recommend I start going for on the ice?
What's your level of experience?
Like medium to high.
Okay. Well, if you're kind of new to the area, I would suggest probably going hitting up, some of the little lakes to kind of used to all lakes around here, lakes out here in Trout. But I can kind of give you a good idea. The lures used, what works on them works on pretty much all the other panfish in the area, and even if you're on Pactola fishing for something else. I've caught pike on teeny little 3mm jigs. And I got a buddy who was catching lakers last year in shallow water. He was fishing for bluegills. So if you're looking for kind of multi-species, Pactola and Stockade would be a good. You got your panfish, you got your bigger predator fish like the pike and the bass, lakers and Pactola. So I would suggest probably if you want to hit the trout lakes, go to Stockade. Probably my next place I would always like to go because I like to go for bluegills down there. And stockade, there's always a chance for a big fish. Because those pike and bass they'll crawl around with those bluegills.
I have a two-part question. How long does it take to put up that hub? And for you, did you not know about the second hub coming?
No.
Okay.
It's always a surprise.
Okay, so the hubs. This one here, I can put this one up by myself in a minute. Now, if there's a little bit of wind out, then you might have to stake down a corner. All the hubs come with those ropes, and force spikes that can twist into the ice. So it takes a little longer than if you're putting it in a wind. But on a 15 mile an hour wind day or less, I can put that up in a minute or less by myself. Bigger ones take you a little longer. They are much easier to put back in the bag with 2 people, but not impossible. It takes you longer to get it into the bag. But yeah, the hubs these days are designed to go very fast with just one person doing it. And your second question, I told her about that hub. She knows about it. It's just not here yet.
It's just not here yet, yeah.
You got a way to keep your windows clean on your hub?
No, I do not, short of just taking a credit card out of my pocket and just scraping it. It's not so much of a big thing with the thermals anymore. It used to be, I have an uninsulated hub too that I used in the past. That one would also ice it pretty bad. As far as film, oh yeah. I've never tried that before. I would almost suggest vinegar is a good way to keep the film off. Yes.
Have you ever found a hole?
Have I ever fell down a hole? Well, when I was a kid, yeah, all the time. My dad liked to drill 10-inch holes, so those are easy to find when you're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old with your foot. Now they may feel a little bit bigger. I haven't really had that. I mean, I step on holes regularly, especially if they get covered up with slush or snow, but I haven't actually fallen through a hole yet. And I have yet to fall through the ice at all, period. I've never used my safety gear. Hope I never have to. But it just depends on how the risk you take on early and late ice, like I do.
What's your most common fish to catch?
In the hills here is definitely trout. But otherwise, bluegills probably the next most common thing to go after. If you go to Stockade or Pactola, just one or two other lakes that I'm not thinking of right now that have a pretty good population of bluegills in them. Those are probably your top 2 most abundant species here in the hills.
Perch at Stockade still full of worms, and what's the prospect this year?
Well, about half of the perch I catch out of Stockade they always have the telltale red spots on the tail. So it's at least 50% or better from my experience the last 4 or 5 years. I'm a catch and release fisherman. I don't keep anything except during the Sherlink Ice Peak tournament, and I will keep those perch to eat. I have caught a few perch out of Sheridan that did have the worm spots, but it's not very common yet. But who knows what it'll be, in the coming years if those worms will get heavy in there like they are in Stockade.
So I see the ice team. I was wondering a little bit about that, if you could speak about it. And I was also wondering if you could speak about the positive sides of catch and release.
Well, ice team is basically it's Clam's kind of the elite of the elite of their pro staff. Basically, is what the ice team is. Those are the guys who have contributed something big to the industry. You're looking at like your Dave Genses, your Jason Mitchells, Tony Mariotti's, those kind of guys, or the women who have created groups in states like Wisconsin or Minnesota. Those are the people that have contributed something major to the sport through their education or through some other contribution they made to get on the ice team. Like I myself, I'm just Clam pro staffer. I would love to get on the ice team one day. It just depends on if I contribute something, either for education or some program I might come up with, and they might determine, hey, this guy's got something really major for our sport. He's contributing something in a positive way. We'll invite him to join the elite, basically. Our one guy in town here, most guys know him as Craig Euler. He got asked to join our ice team the year after he created the Hooked on Hardwater tournament for the Club for Boys. Because that is a major impactful event around here that I am lucky enough to be able to participate in the last few years, where we all get paired with one boy from the boys club, and we get take them out and mentor them and fish with them and chat with them, get to know them, and be a positive influence in their lives. Because some of those boys don't have the best role models growing up in their house. So something like that, I mean, that's a major impact on both the fishing industry as well as in our local area here.
Hit a second part to his question. The catch and, he asked the catch and release question.
Sorry. That's right. Well, the positive catch and release is, you know, I don't like to. I'm not the guy who says you shouldn't keep fish. If you want to eat the fish, by all means eat the fish. I mean, I like to eat fish. I just choose not to keep any. I might be a little lazy because I don't want to clean them, but it's just nice. But when, especially with the bigger fish in the area, like if you catch that 10-inch bluegill, which are not hard, which are not easy to find anymore around here, or that 20-inch bass, or that 20-pound pike, you know, or that 12-inch or better, perch. That fish got to that size because it had the right diet, it had the right. I mean, genes are kind of really pushing really hard for these guys. There was something about him that made him able to survive longer, grow bigger, and keep going. And his particular characteristics, his genes, his traits, can get passed on to the next generation when they lay their eggs. And it's just a good way to keep the population healthy, to make sure we get bigger. We have fish that can grow to those sizes. Whereas if we take them out of that pool, that takes away a future brood of 13 to 15-inch perch, or a 16-inch or better crappie, or a pike that can get 30 pounds. So that's kind of the benefit of catch and release: is you keep the fish in the water that should probably still be in the water, just to make sure you keep getting a healthy population of fish. But it also means you can still keep the fish you want to eat. If you want to eat a 14-inch trout or a 16-inch walleye, go ahead. Those are the best eaters anyway. But that walleye that's over 20 inches, they're not going to taste as good, for one thing, unless you deep fry them. But it's also a fish that maybe we want to pass those traits down to however many thousands of eggs he may help produce in the future.
When you're out there on the ice, what is your go-to? Do you like to choose an inline or a spinning rod? We'll just say we're going after a walleye or something. What's the best?
Well, as far as inlines and spinning reels, for walleyes, I don't usually use inlines for walleyes. I'm more of a spinning reel guy for them. My inlines I use pretty much mostly for panfish. I think that's kind of where their advantage is using that lighter line, like a 2-pound test, 3-pound test, 4-pound test. Just to keep the line spinning. I mean, I've seen some fishing shows where the guys are using inlines for walleyes. So there's no reason you can't. I don't think that unless you have one of these ones that has like the free spool feature, like the triggers, like on this particular Clam model, this Gravity Elite, or this PC Fun Precision over here. That allows you to drop the lure at a faster rate versus a lot of inlines we have to pull the line out by hand, because that's a slower descent that way. So most time you're fishing for walleyes in deeper water anyway, a lot of times. So I mean, if you want to use the inline, go ahead. There's no reason you can't. My preference is to use them for panfish in a tougher trout day, and then I'll use spinning reels for the more pepper species of fish, as well as for a lot of times for spoon fishing.
Two questions here. On the Augers, I think I've asked you a question before, keep asking me when it happens. I'd like to see a cold snap go like a regular handheld one or 6-inch one. This old guy's so old school. And saw a lot of another thing, how about using hot dogs for like, I've read that story a lot of times, and it's readily available, and I'd sure like to see if it works.
Well, as far as with the cold snap covers for the different types of auger blades out there. I know Dan has said they've had different models mentioned before in the past at our pro staff meetings. We've brought this up with him many times, where we say, what about this bigger model or this size? Or it's all dependent on the requests they get from people other than the pro staff, and then they have to decide if it's worth the price because they pay buku bucks for the molds to make these, so it has to be worth the investment. So if their one isn't really a popular one anymore, or doesn't get a lot of requests for it, they probably won't make it, unfortunately. And as far as the hot dog, yeah, I've heard that story for years about using hot dogs on tip-ups to catch pike. I've heard it. Does anybody here do it? There we go. See? So, there you go. Summer sausage on all lines. There you go. So it obviously works if people are doing it. I mean, I myself have never tried it. Maybe I should because I'm still working on my tip-up fishing myself. So I usually use shiners or chubs, you know, or frozen shiners. So I should try hot dog too, apparently.
How much walleye do you get? How much walleye?
How much walleye do I get? Well, I can say, I give my opinion, I am not the best walleye fisherman through the ice. I don't have boats, I don't target them very often in the summertime unless I go out with a friend of mine who's got a boat. And I've been out to Ormond, I go to Ormond at least once, twice a year. It's a little bit of a long trip, but I get skunked pretty regularly. I don't know the lakes the best. The Auger store, which has, you know, shady ice most years, so you kind of have to wait for the Auger store to really get good hard freeze for you to going out there. Ormond, I just haven't. I fish in places where I've heard guys are fishing, and I've caught one or gone out there for 7 or 8 hours and not even seen a fish. Fish the river, he says. I haven't done that yet. I'll try that. I'll have to keep that in mind. So, but I do go fish with my dad up at Shade Hill on a couple stock dams that he has, and we will catch. He can get me on some fishing over there, and we'll catch a half dozen or so a day. Something averaging anywhere from 12 to 20 inches.
I see you have one of the newest accessories in the ice defense system. Can you explain that, please?
Sure. So the ice defense system, again, you notice was this blue thing that's hanging off of this particular one. So what it does is it's designed to keep your hole from freezing over by pulling water from below the surface down to these little holes in the bottom here, and it pulls them up through and pumps them out, the top ones. There's a little line here where the water is supposed to go, or where your top of your water goes. And because the water below the surface is warmer, it circulates on top and just keeps circulating the water on top. It keeps your hole open. So if you're out in a day when your holes are constantly freezing over, which I'm sure most of us, you're sticking your hand in the water to break the ice, or you're taking your chipper, just to break the ice over using your foot, to do that. This is just a way. You just pop it down, give it a few minutes, and there's no ice left in that hole. You just have it's a new accessory that I just bought this year. I've looked at for a few years now. We're using it once up at Dalton last week, and it was pretty nice. I mean, my other holes were all icing over, but I just dropped that into the hole within a couple minutes. No more ice on the top there. So it's kind of it's kind of a nice little accessory piece for flashers. I know it works with all models, not just Vexilar. I've seen these on Humminbirds, Lawrence's, Markham's. It's kind of a nice little accessory to have for these colder days.
What gear does a beginner need?
What gear does a beginner need? I was there about 10 years ago. Let's see. Well, you got to have a way to get through the ice first. So you're gonna probably need to get either a hand auger, or if you don't mind, like my grandpa used to do when he was younger, just take your big old spud bar and just hit the ice until you get through. So yeah, auger, something warm to wear, because as soon as you get cold, you ain't gonna have fun no more. Especially when it comes to the kids. If you can't keep the kids warm, you're not gonna have any fun because they're not having any fun. And then just a decent, kind of a nice all-around rod and reel, medium light rod, would probably be my recommendation for a beginner. That'll catch everything from the little guys up to the bigger fish. You can look at flashers and stuff later. I mean, these are definitely more expensive things to get into with the flashers, but unless you're going to sit there and bobber fish, you're going to be stuck in one spot all day. Whereas a flasher gives you the ability to see fish, know if there are fish around, decide if you want to move around or not. So my big three has always been suit, auger, flasher. kind of the big three purchases for ice fishing we're trying to get into. You look for used stuff. That's always a little easy. You can look at on sale stuff, clearance stuff. Otherwise, that would be the thing to start with. Yes, again.
What's your favorite lure?
Favorite lure? Well, again, depends on what I'm fishing for. I would say my favorite all-around lure is probably the Clam drop kick jig. That lure has caught me everything from little bluegills up to large big trout. Just because the way the lure is designed, it really isn't optimal for plastics or anything with a long tail. It's called a drop kick because when you drop it down and move back up, the back end kicks. So anything that has a tail on it, whether it's a minnow, a wax worm, or plastic, it's going to really move that tail and be really attractive to those fish. And like I said, it catches a little bit of everything from my experience with in the past. But if I was looking for like an actual, for something for like pike, walleye, bigger fish, I would look at leech Flutter Spoons. That's one of the big one here. Those are probably some of my favorite. And what's that one? Oh, the pinhead minnow. The new pinhead jointed minnow is a really nice one, but it's got a swing head. So you got the action there. You put a minnow head on that. It's good for those bigger predator fish.
I was just wondering, I see you like have those Piscifun reels or whatever. What model is that and like size? And do they get stiff when it gets cold as far as the lubrication or grease?
You're talking about the inline or about the spinning?
The spinning.
Spinning. Yeah, I do. Piscifun is the rod company that I'm with. They are probably the best spinning reels I've ever used for ice fishing. I've never had an issue with them icing up, with them getting stiff in the cold. I've never really had to clean them. They pretty much take care of themselves. I've had them out. I've had water in them. You just kind of get the ice out of there. They work fine. So I really, for what they, for being an online only brand that Piscifun is, you won't find it because you won't find them in a retail store anywhere. They're strictly an online brand only. They are very high quality reels for a really good price. I mean, you can pick up that Ice X5 spinning reels. You pick them up for $25. In my opinion, just based on my experience with them, they're just as good as any $50, $60, $70 reel out there for ice fishing. Less than half the price. That's why I've set that one. Possibly, yes. I got they have a new inline coming called the Ice X Carbon. That one's probably coming tomorrow. That'll be a nice new inline roller trout this year. I got a discount on it, it's okay. Gift card.
When it comes to weather or barometric pressure, do you change the way you fish or where you fish at on the lake?
Yes, with barometric pressure, which, if you're not familiar with it, the pressure in the air, it pushes down on the ice, which affects the fish, because the fish feel that pressure, and the swim bars compensate for that. They'll expand when it's hot, when it's going up or sky high, which means their stomachs are smaller. So they're not going to be as hungry, they're not going to be aggressive, they'll be very lethargic, very negative. Versus when it's going down, that shrinks, more stomach room, game on. So yes, I will usually ice fishing, I will usually check the time going out. I will check the pressure forecast for that day, and that kind of determines where I'm going to fish. I'll if I go to say if I'm going to Stockade, I'll look at not shallow water because they're going to want to go a little bit deeper because of the pressure. So we're looking at about probably 10 to 15 flares just to start with, and then kind of proceed from there. Just to try and find the usual the humps and the features that are underwater using lake maps either on my phone or ones that I print out from the Game Fish website.
Do you think UV or glow gives you a better chance to catch more fish?
UV or glow? Well, in low light situations, yes. Because if you ever had a UV one, you put it down the hole when especially if there's snow cover on, but the sun's still shining, you can see that lure going down a long way because those UV rays do penetrate through the ice and they will light up that lure. During low light situations, Blower is really nice because the fish can see it from a long ways away, especially if you're fishing for walleye or trout, because they're such a visual feeder. They have those big eyes to bring in more light. So blow works really well on those particular species, in my opinion, based on how I fished with them before. Now, if the water is really clear, then you can use your standard, golds, blues, your kind of more your natural colors. And if it's stained water, then I'll go to more of the glow style UV type, because those will show up a lot better in that stained water, or if it's in the low light conditions.
Is there a certain type of cleat you recommend?
There's all different kinds of brands out there, different kinds of spike types. I like the Catulas. I don't have them here with me, unfortunately, but they have got very long spikes in them, and I have yet to fall with those particular spikes because they are so spiky, for lack of a better word, that I run to tip ups with them, and I don't worry about falling on even when it's bare ice, because they're just such hard gripping ones. And I know there's different brands out there. There's Corkers and some different other brands you can find at the different retail stores. And anything, even little coil wrapped ones are better than nothing, especially right now with first ice and no snow being on the ice. Anything that gives you grip that keeps you from slipping and falling in the back of your head, go with it. Even if it is just $5, $10 pair, it beats cracking your back of your head open.
What's your favorite tip up you like to use?
Arctic Warrior. I'm a big user of the Arctic Warrior. I've actually got my Warriors here. I just kind of ran out of room to put them out. But I like those because you have a rod and reel, and you have your Warrior set up. You just put the rod on there, tip up, and the fish takes it, tip goes down, flag goes up, just grab the rod and start reeling. A lot of guys like they prefer hand line stuff with like your standard tip up that goes and covers your hole. I've got a few of those. I've got a couple of Frables and a couple of Clam thermal ones. I've had some friends who've used them. I don't have them personally, but I do like the hooks, the hook set of those. If I have one complaint about my Arctic Warriors, is that especially when it comes to trout to go after them, they go swallow hooks. Because the system, it shows you what the fish are biting and running, but it sets it for you with a jaw jacker. As soon as that lure is taken, bam, it sets it for you. So you have very little time for the fish to inhale a jig or a hook. So for fish mortality, those jaw jackers are probably the best ones to use.
During the winter, do you catch more fish when it's windy or the wind is cold?
Well, I can pretty much catch fish whenever the wind's blowing. It just depends on how hard it's blowing, the temperature outside, whether I'm going to be inside my hub or outside moving around. It's not so much the wind that affects the fish; it's more the air. I think the air pressure is the biggest thing that determines fish activity during the wintertime.
What's your favorite lure setup for lures? And do you use soft plastics?
Yes, I do have some soft plastics. I do like to use a medium to a medium heavy rod. My one Laker rod that I did bring into here is in the case here. It's a medium heavy. It's got a 10-pound braid on with a 10-pound fluorocarbon leader at 18 inches in front of that. I like to use bleached Flutter Spoons. Or sometimes I'll use the giant bleach Flutter Spoon, which I got in here. If you want to come and see it, if you want to go for the seminar, or I'll use standard 1/4 ounce horizontal jig like you would for walleye fishing, and I'll put on a nice big plastic, usually a Craigie XL. Those were actually designed by Mr. Euler here in town, and actually surprisingly, even though they're only about 5-6 years old, they're rated by Fisherman as one of the 10 best ice fishing lures of all time already. So it's a very versatile plastic, a lot of movement, a lot of scent, and best of all time. Yeah, like top 10 of all time. It's only 5 years old, so it's a heck of a plastic. And only the Rooster in town is the only place that sells them in the country. Otherwise, you have to buy them off of the Cold Snack Outdoors website. So definitely, if you're looking at going for Lakers or even after walleye, I like guys use these for walleyes too, open water and ice fishing. Because it's a mice and shrimp imitator, which pretty much everything eats in the hills here. buddy of mine likes to pinch off half of this and go after rainbows with it. And he does really well with it. I was supposed to another one. Okay. Good to know.
Do you recommend a certain time to go out ice fishing?
Early morning or get closer to sunset. My experience here is that right around when 10:30 hits, this fishing really slows down. No matter how much moving you do, you can usually find fish here and there if you can be out fishing all day. But after about 10:30, it's really hard to find them until about 2:30, 3-ish in the afternoon, and then activity picks back up. Best bait to use in shallow water? Kind of depends on what you're fishing for there. For trout, I use trout and panfish. I use plastics very, very regularly. If I was going for walleyes in shallow water, probably using a spoon, flashy spoon with a minnow head. About if I was going for pike, I'd be setting up, Arctic Warriors or tip-ups with either shiners, frozen chubs, or pop dogs.
These don't have a sticker, but they're from...
Some of these are Anthony Pendergrass. They ordered Titan lures. He made these brand new jigs this year. So he gave me 6 to get out for questions asked. So. Yeah. So it's just this. If you want to see this, it's a very nice.
We target Google. What's the first area that you try to? What's your first sign of, hey, this is an area I want to focus on?
I'm usually looking in the more shallows, like 10 foot. Places that I fish around here in the wintertime, I pay attention to where the weed lines are at, especially if you're down stockade where you've got massive amounts of weed lines to go for. And then on my phone, I'll have those. I usually pinpoint those where I've got like the avionics app on my phone. So I will hit these spots up and have them come back in the wintertime and try to fish those areas. It's also good ways to kind of find tip-up spots for northerns, like you can catch northerns in the area as well. And just because having that ability to do that on your phone is just really handy. But yeah, usually weed lines, look for humps, or you kind of like drop off. That's more perching or more hanging on those more from the bluegill as well. But sometimes you'll get the bluegills in there too. But apps, well, the avionics is probably one of the best ones. But the Humminbird Fish Smart app or Smart Fish app, you can pay per lake on that one. Unfortunately, it was supposed to have actually $15, like you've got all the lakes in the area. But the Fish Smart app is for the lakes that are actually mapped around here with it, are extremely detailed. If you're looking at like Sheridan, Pactola, or Deerfield, or Angostura, or Lorman, those are they're mapped in high definition. Like comparing the avionics on Pactola to the Fish app, you see so much more in the Fish Smart app. Yep. You're paying $10 a lake, so that's why I only have Sheridan and Pactola myself. But you can certainly, if you have anything on if you want to take your boat units and bring them on the ice with you, yeah, definitely go ahead. A lot of guys do that to map out a lake.
Or if you're a beginner, the Ocean Park has a great website. They've got a maps on there. If you don't want to pay at first, so always use those state resources and go ahead and check that out.
Thank you for that. Yes, I do have a lot of printout, just like Game Fish Map or Game Fish Park maps from the website too. That's how we're going for stuff here. So I got enough for about 3 or 4 more questions here, and then we'll get to the prices. All right, fire away.
What would you say would be some of the weirder things fish like to eat?
Some of the weirder things, corn. This one, she likes to use corn, and she catches a lot more fish than me sometimes with corn. At least I figured out a few times this year, yeah, she just did a little bit of corn, she outfished me, 3 to 1, easily on that. So yeah, corn, hot dogs, apparently that's a pretty common one. I never really live in plastics and worms or minnows out. That's about the weirdest bait I've used around here. No, I never specifically target them. I usually catch them when I fish for something else. I know it's forgotten for a bass fisherman. I know they kind of know where to go look for them. I'm kind of learning how to bass fish. Mark Zacher was a friend of mine. He does this 7-pro bass circuit around here. He's kind of my Yoda, trying to kind of learn how to bass fish from him. But as far as I've caught some pretty big, largemouth and smallmouth through the ice, but I've always been going for bluegills or something else.
Hey, just got a little announcement quick. I just got a report that 44 is getting really nasty, so just be very careful getting home, and maybe we ought to jump right to our drawings. Is that okay? Just for that?
That's fine.
Okay, we do have a hand up right here that I didn't get to, so we want to give them some stuff.
Sure, just pull through.
Stick around and ask
You
your
can
questions.
ask me after the prizes too, when it's always done. There you go. All right,
You
so
don't want to walk on that ice.
So we'll do the kids prizes first. So first up here we have a very nice Cabela's Prodigy combo. A medium one, this will be good for larger trout, walleyes, what have you. Winner is Ava Aguilar. There we go. This one we have more of a noodle tip style light action, so good for panfish and trout. Same another Cabela's Prodigy. Nolan Hummer. Nice job. Very good. All right. Now next we have a collection of jigs, plastics, and from RBM out of Michigan, as well as a silicone jig case to put the jigs in and outdoors. Case and holder. There you go, big guy. All right. Then we will do the last kids one here. This is a collection of items from that Fleet Farm donated. We got a very nice meat stick combo. Collection and some clam jigs, a couple of Northland spoons, a scoop, and some 4-pound test fishing line. Or 4-pound test ice fishing line here. And this winner is Joseph Hogue. Very nice. Thank you very much. We should use that reason. We should use that soon. All right, now the fun stuff for the adults. First thing up, we have a very nice Amped Outdoors hoodie here. So one of those nice ones, keeps you cool, but also it's also moisture wicking. So keep you warm in the winter time out too. And that goes to Lisa Aguilar. Thank you. Next up, we have a Upf shirt for Amped Outdoors as well. Now this is what I wear in the summertime a lot of times. To Aaron Frank. And a Vexilar hat goes to Gina Koski, along with the cold snap landing combo. All right, those green ones are hard to find. And we got another one of those with put a bunch of lures of Anthony's new noise jigs. Vexilar hat goes to Curtis Danielson. Thank you very much. All right, next we have the box of Anthony's newest ice fishing plastics from Titan Outdoors. You got different colors, different kinds here. To Ben Tracy. usually use things towards panfish and trout commodities, especially these newer style here. We used it up on Dalton the other day and they were killers. Alright. On Dalton, yeah. Good luck finding a waypoint there or a map on that. A $50 gift card from Shields. Scott Krebs. Shields has a big ice fishing sale on going right now, so it's a good time to use that. Alright. I have a 6 amp amped outdoors lithium battery here, complete with a charger, as well as the different chargers you'll need if you have a Vexilar. This is the charging cable which you can attach to it. If you have if you use another brand, you would use the Auger clips here. Tyler Smurwitz. Sorry, I always get your name wrong. There we are. I should have talked to the same name by now, but if you have a Vexilar, give it a level. Give her what you have. Okay, well, now you have an excuse. Use that in the charger, and you have an excuse to get one. All right, now we have from RBM Jigs out of Michigan, as I said before. These guys, I just met a guys institute through my friend Aaron Koski, who's an ambassador for them this year. So if you have any questions about the brand, please see him. They donated a $180 package to this. I split it up between the jigs and plastics for the kids, as well as some jigs and plastics, a really nice case, as well as this nice $80 pen wrapper rod. This is a very nice blue chip rod. I almost bought one of these for myself while I was down there. I already have four new to try out this year, so I didn't think I needed a fifth one. Winner of this combination is Larry Norris. There you go, sir. Enjoy. And please be sure, if you guys, those of you guys who win stuff, if you even just want to just message the companies or just shop there if you win some of the gift cards, I'd appreciate it if you just let them know just to thank them for the donations, especially such as like RBM. They're not really known around here, and they just, I told them what we were doing through Aaron, and he was like, here you go, here's a $180 combo. Really, really cool for these companies to do this for me. All right, first selection of our three-pack of newer Northland lures goes to Gary Ladner. Some different proportions, some boulders, and perhaps silver pike and walleye. The next one goes to Jesse Holm. And the last lure package Dave Fletcher. There you go, sir. Thank you. All right, now last two prizes. So here we have, that's the grand prize. This is a certificate for a free pair of those relevant glasses I was talking to you about. They're $200 a crack, $400 if you. You'll go on the website, you want to research the different filters on here. I have contact information for Matthew Evans, he's the one who's in charge of this, so if any questions, please contact him with the email there, get a hold of him on Facebook. He'll help you if you're unfamiliar with the technology, he'll explain it, and you can kind of pinpoint which filter you want to use. I highly recommend the chameleon line because it does do that transition, and it's up to what kind of color you want. I like the red because it just looks really good. It looks really good with red stuff I wear with that cold snap. But I'll show you some pictures. It's very. I'm also a Star Wars nerd, so it's very Darth Vader-ish too. But the blue green is also a very nice color too. So the winner of this free pair of glasses, Brando Humflet. There you are, sir. Like I said, here's the contact information there. So we're going to just get a hold of them, and they'll help you select your glasses. So thank you. All right. So I don't know if if Kevin's here or not. You here, Kevin? I know, right? So Kevin Vaughn, he's the guy who runs Wild Outfitters out of Ormond. He is for the third year in a row, has donated a guided walleye trip up to Ormond or into storage to freeze. Well enough, he does go down there too pretty regularly. So he's not here, but we can give you his contact information to get a hold of him to set up when you would like to go out with him. Because last year the winter never got a hold of him, which was too bad. But this year, please get in touch with him. You can contact him through the website, or I can give you, contact him through Facebook. So the winner of the grand prize Justin Martz. Very good, sir. I'll get you Kevin's contact information just to come whenever it goes. And that's it, everybody. I appreciate you guys coming out into this despite the weather. Thank you very much for coming up. If you have more questions, please come up here and take a look at the gear one more time. There are stickers on the way out to those. And we will see you out on the ice.